Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the ABM Report. It's our Avention podcast series where we host execs from around the world who share their expertise on account-based marketing and sales. I'm Steve Pogorzelski, your host and the CEO at Avention. But really, the important guest today is Matt Heinz. He's the president of Heinz Marketing and someone who's very active in the ABM space and considered a thought leader. Welcome, Matt. We're glad you're here.
Hey, thanks so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
Great. Why don't we jump right into the questions? So, Matt, can you tell us a little bit about Heinz Marketing and how you're helping companies with the ABM process?
Sure. Heinz Marketing has been around for about 8 years. We're a B2B consulting firm, and I really think of us as sales pipeline people. We're a bunch of marketers that think in terms of sales pipeline contribution and marketing influence on closed business through a variety of sales and marketing efforts. And it's been refreshing to see the rise of ABM as for a couple reasons. One, to really focus on an account orientation to sales and marketing. I think for a long time we really focused on individuals and leads, and most B2B selling scenarios aren't that clean. They're not that linear. So focusing on the internal buying committee, focusing on the account and the organization as a whole, and coordinating those efforts both internally within the organization you're selling to as well as in your own organization between sales and marketing has been really exciting. And I think as a nice byproduct of that, we're seeing far more marketing organizations now embrace real revenue metrics, focusing less on an operational dashboard and more on an executive dashboard that they share with sales as well as the C-suite. So, increasingly we've got marketers that are acting like a profit center in the business, and it's raising the visibility as well as the impact they're having on real revenue and sales results.
Matt, I'm really intrigued by this notion of an executive dashboard. Can you share with us, what's in the dashboard, what does it contain, and who uses it? And it's just really curious.
Yeah, I think for me the distinction is between marketing metrics and business metrics. I think for too long marketers have taken metrics like newsletter open rates and social retweets and even marketing qualified leads and put those as the primary metrics of their dashboard. And I realize some of those might be easier metrics to watch and record and report on, but those aren't the metrics that the business cares about. Those are means unto an end. And so when I think about, and look, you need to look at those as an operational marketing unit to be able to manage your work and to manage the campaigns you're doing to generate the output you care about. But your executive dashboard needs to reflect what the rest of the company cares about. Where are you penetrating target accounts? Where are you creating new qualified opportunities among the companies that you care the most about? Where exactly is marketing influencing revenue events? I realize that this is a lot more difficult to measure and manage, but those are the metrics that the organization cares the most about. Even if you don't have precise metrics that measure all of that, if you're using that language, if you're putting those as the primary focus of your marketing organization, it's almost guaranteed that your individuals in marketing as well as the organization as a whole is going to start focusing on work product at an operational level that is more precisely delivering the executive results that you want.
Great, thanks. So Matt, I think we both realize that one of the challenges of implementing an ABM process is figuring out how it fits in with other sales and marketing campaigns. So what advice would you have for the audience or for companies out there who are struggling with this question?
Yeah, I think that it's ABM is not an all or nothing thing. I don't know of any companies that are throwing out all the other marketing they're doing and saying we're going all in on ABM. And in many cases, the individual siloed marketing that companies have done actually fits well into an ABM program if it was developed with a strong understanding of those target personas in the buying journey. What's exciting to me then about converting that into an ABM model is now you can actually coordinate the activities between different people in the organization that you're selling to, so that the next step for marketing as well as from sales builds upon that. So if you listen to CEB and their latest research, they've got the number up to about 6.8 on average stakeholders and decision makers involved in most B2B decisions inside an organization. Well, if you're treating those folks as individuals in silos, you're losing the opportunity to build consensus among them inside, the buying committee. And so if one or two of those people are engaged with you and the rest are not, well, that should still impact the messaging you put in front of those non-engaged people to increase the velocity and speed at which they do get engaged for their own reasons. So, I think if you're already focused on developing strong personas, if you're already developing tools and systems and processes that help you sort of navigate who the different stakeholders and decision makers are, your focus then on ABM can start to actually integrate and execute on that coordinated effort, including but beyond what marketing is doing, so it includes what the sales organization is doing as well.
That's great advice. So I would imagine through your speaking engagements and your customer base, you may run into a lot of situations where sales and marketing departments are not aligned at all around account-based marketing strategy. So how do you get those groups aligned, and how important do you think that is for an ABM program to be successful?
It's incredibly important. If you've got, a sales organization at the end of the month and the end of the quarter, if they're grinding it out to hit their number, but marketing is at the bar celebrating that they hit their retweet goal, you don't have a lot of alignment, and that may sound like a sort of a far-out scenario. That is a real-life scenario from a company we work with recently. So I think, there's a couple things you want to start with that become foundational to beginning and then sort of realizing the better relationship moving forward. The first is you got to have the same objectives. And this is marketing has to step up and embrace revenue responsibility. Marketing needs to be comfortable accepting that their goal is not MQLs, their goal is not top-up pipeline. Their ultimate goal is the same as sales. It's closed deals. And both sides may own different parts of that pipeline, but together they need to be responsible for and embrace the end result, which is, really the metrics you can buy a beer with. So one is having the same objectives, and two is really working from the same math. If you know how many deals you need to close, you should work back to how many opportunities you need in your pipeline a given month or given quarter, and further work back to how many leads need to feed into that. Too many organizations know what their sales number is, and they might know what their pipeline is, but marketing is working from a lead number that was developed separately that may have nothing to do with what the sales team needs to hit. So number two is really having the same math, and number three quickly is having common set of definitions. What is a qualified opportunity? What is a qualified sales-ready lead? Having both teams working from the same playbook, when you have the same objectives, the same math, and the same definitions, that is a foundation from which you can build and now have the work you're doing be aligned in the same direction.
It's interesting. So, for me, from a CEO perspective, having sales and marketing aligned and talking about the same number, as you've stated, as embracing the same result, it's terrific. So, but do you think marketing's coming around to embracing that result, or we still have some more work to do?
Well, there's definitely still work to do. I think, what we've noticed in the last couple years is more marketing organizations are increasingly embracing that revenue responsibility. It was quite refreshing for me. I was at a conference about a month ago and was able to speak one-on-one to a lot of marketing leaders, and when I asked the question, what's your number one objective, like what are you measured on this quarter, it was refreshing to hear that the majority of them in that room gave some version answer of X% of our pipeline needs to come from marketing. So it wasn't just generate a bunch of leads. It was, those leads need to be good enough that there's qualified pipeline coming out of it. So, it's refreshing to see an increased number of people doing that, but, there's still an awful lot of companies that aren't. There's still a lot of marketing departments that act like the arts and crafts department, that report on activities instead of outcomes. I think those are endangered species in B2B. And I think, if I'm in your role, Steve, and like looking at the organization overall, I'm wondering, how is everyone aligned behind our objectives as a business? How are they making decisions on a daily basis on where to invest their time and energy and focus to help us achieve our common goals? And I think there's an awful lot of marketing departments that are still focused on the means and not the ends. We're coming around, and it's getting better, but we still have work to do.
So I love the line about acting like an arts and crafts department. If you don't mind, I'm going to steal that from you.
I'll go for it.
At least from an internal perspective. Thank you. All right. Would love that. So let's take another step towards helping our customers understand ABM. So what is the number one question your customers ask about when they're starting an ABM program, or what do you think is their number one roadblock when they're trying to start ABM?
It's a great question. I think the number one roadblock and the number one question are, to me, the same. Can you get your sales and marketing organizations to agree on and embrace and commit to the same objective? Like, if you have a marketing organization that continues to focus on top-of-funnel metrics, it's almost impossible for them to truly make the right decisions and commitment to an ABM program. So it may sound funny to say that, because ABM is, the M stands for marketing, and we're thinking about this as a marketing effort. But really, this is about sales. This is about not just developing a set of target accounts you want to go market to. Like, we've been doing that forever. That's not new. This means a coordinated, account-oriented approach to bringing on more of your target, your named account logos. So marketing has to step up and accept that this is not simply marketing more to your best prospects. This isn't a focusing exercise of doing the same campaigns to fewer companies. This is a coordinated effort with sales like most companies haven't done before. This is a targeting exercise on objectives that many marketers haven't focused on before. It is a reprioritizing of the campaigns, of the tactics, of the focus areas of a marketing organization that may take them out of what they view as traditional marketing focus areas, but align their activities and their resources in the exact same place that the sales organization is aligned, and that's around bringing on more revenue, bringing on more of the target accounts that can most effectively grow your business.
So I love that, and I would agree with it, but I would add that the number two thing is, once they've made that alignment, made that decision, it's data. Because we're seeing such horrendous data within the marketplace that is impossible, I think, to do effective ABM without a common set of data, one central source of truth. I was at a Fortune 1000 company in the Midwest last week, and they had 4 disparate customer records. Sales did, marketing did, FP&A did, and actually marketing had 2 different sets of customer records. So, I would say, I agree with you, but data is right behind.
Oh, I completely agree with you. And I think that that's one of the reasons why ABM is now becoming a thing. I think we have, first of all, there are some technology solutions that are coming to bear that are helping people execute on this account orientation. But also, the idea that you now have access to data and can actually take advantage of that data it is like nothing we've had before. And I know you probably don't, I know your intention is to make this sort of a commercial for Avention, but I look at, what you guys are doing in terms of. Right. No, but I look at what you're doing as a great example of this. Right. It's one thing to have access to data. We've all got access to anything in the cloud we want these days. But the challenge is, how do you turn that data into opportunities? How do you turn all this big data into the right data, and the right data right now, to make better decisions, to prioritize the right activities, to focus your sales and marketing efforts in the right place? And I think that is something that is fairly new to many marketers as an opportunity, because of companies like Avention, that is embraceable now and is accessible to more companies than ever before.
Well, I appreciate the plug. I wasn't trying to get a shameless one in there, but it's there, and we'll take it. So I better move along. So thanks for giving me that. So last question for you. If you had one piece of advice, so here I need your sage wisdom, right? You've been at this since the beginning. So if you had one piece of advice to give a company just starting an ABM program, what would it be?
Boy, I would say, understand the desired outcomes. If your organization, and find the gap between those outcomes and where you're executing today. Because I think, it's one thing to say, hey, we should be doing more account-based marketing. It's another thing to demonstrate the need for that internally. So if you can identify the goal tied to ABM, and if you can identify how poorly the organization is executing on that today, and it's not about pointing fingers, it's not about telling people that they're wrong, it's simply pointing out the trends in the market, it's pointing out what's working and what's not, the fact that there are going to be winners and losers as more companies embrace account-based marketing or not. And in every one of our markets, especially if you're going after named accounts, you either win that account or you don't. And so I think increasingly there is going to be a gap between companies that embrace account-based marketing and those that don't, based on actually winning more of those target accounts more effectively. So in summary, I think that number one thing I would do in terms of getting an ABM program up and going is the same thing you might be doing with a prospect, which is challenge the status quo. Help people understand the gap that exists between what they want and where they are. Develop some urgency and some consensus internally that there needs to be a different way of doing business to be able to more efficiently work together and achieve your targets.
Well, Matt, I really want to thank you for helping us and our listeners challenge the status quo. So a big thank you to our special guest, Matt Heinz, president of Heinz Marketing. That's Heinz Marketing. Appreciate you being with us today.
Oh, thanks very much. It's been fun.
Great. I know I certainly enjoyed it. So for those of you who are interested, stay tuned next time as we talk with Sangram Boraja. He's the Chief Marketing Officer at Terminus. They're also doing great things in this space. Or you can catch us between shows on Twitter. We're at Avention Inc. And have a great week, everybody. And Matt, thanks again.